Hello and welcome back to Library Books Are Cool. My name is Alex, and what I want to do today is go over the 26 books that I want to read in 2026. So to get right into it, I will not have the physical copies of pretty much any of these books since I have not gotten them from the library yet. So the first two are my two current reads. The first that I want to get into is more the whole series of A Song of Ice and Fire. So throughout the year I want to finish the whole series, but I'm counting it as one book for the sake of this video. So for now I have A Game of Thrones is the first book in the series. I am almost finished with it and it is brutal. So I think almost everyone is familiar with A Game of Thrones at this point. It's a sprawling fantasy. And something that's really cool about this book is it really blurs the line between heroes and villains. So I'm really looking forward to going through what is written of this series. I believe that there are two books that he has not written yet and probably will not come out. Who knows? We'll see. That's book number one. So book number two is also my current read. It is Gilead by Marilynne Robinson. I am almost halfway through this book now, and it is so melancholy. It is just, there's something about the tone of this book that is so down. It is just a letter from an aging father to his son, and while the father is a reverend, it isn't really like a Christian book per se. It's just, you know, it's just part of the storyline, and it's so reflective, and it's pretty much just like one long breath of slow, easy, sad tones, and it is just beautiful so far. So that is Gilead. That is book number two. So the rest of these books I will put right here. There is not really any particular order to these. So anyway, let's get on to the rest of them. So the next book that I want to read is Stoner by John Williams. And this book is pretty much an uneventful, mundane look at William Stoner's life. And the triumphs he goes through, the defeats he goes through, and the devastatingly ordinary things that people typically go through. So I've heard a lot about this book recently, and it has been on my TBR for at least a year, so I'm really excited to read it. The next book that I want to read is Hamnet by Maggie O'Farrell. And this is one of the rare newer books. I will admit that most of the books on this list are classics or modern classics that I've just wanted to read for a really long time. So what better year than 2026? So Hamnet is a newer book that recently came out that I've seen a lot about that sounds really interesting. It is about the life and death of Shakespeare's son, and it talks about marriage and grief and loss, and it just sounds like a really interesting book that I don't really find myself often gravitating to. So we'll see if it lives up to the hype. The next book is For Whom the Bell Tolls by Hemingway. I have read The Sun Also Rises, The Old Man and the Sea, A Farewell to Arms, and they are all just so amazing. I've been limiting how much Hemingway I read a year because there's only a finite amount of it. So I'm really looking forward to reading For Whom the Bell Tolls. So this book is often touted as one of the greatest war novels of all time. Really looking forward to adding another Hemingway to my list. The next book that I want to read is Moby Dick by Herman Melville, and I think almost everyone on the planet has heard about this book. So this book is obviously very philosophical. It talks about ego, it talks about obsession. I'm really excited to finally get into this classic that I have heard so much about. The next book is also a very thick classic. It is Les Miserables by Victor Hugo, and again, this is a book that I think almost everyone has heard of or read or seen. I honestly don't know much about this at all, despite it being one of the most popular novels of all time. I'm excited to get into that one in 2026 as well. The next book is The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy by Douglas Adams. And I'm not much of a sci-fi reader. So with this list, I'm trying to be very expansive and broaden my reading. So this book is both a sci-fi and a comedy. It's about meaninglessness and existence, and I think it is honestly just going to be a really fun read. The next book is Invisible Cities by Italo Calvino. I have read If on a Winter's Night, a Traveler, and I would recommend every person on earth read that book. It is so unique and different. Calvino's writing style is just unmatched. It's a little bizarre. It's a little hard to follow. So you have to really take your time with it. So it's pretty much a conversation between Marco Polo and Kublai Khan. So again, his writing style is so kind of bizarre. It's very untraditional. If on a Winter's Night, a Traveler was written in the second person. So if that gives you any idea, I would recommend everyone read it. But Invisible Cities by Calvino has been on the back burner for me since I read that book. So excited to add another Calvino. So the next book, and I'm going to absolutely butcher the name, The Book of Tea by Okakara. This is a meditation on tea culture, but at the same time on humility and mindfulness. This is one of the few nonfiction on my list for this year. This one is kind of a newer one for me, but I've been trying to get into a little more philosophy in my reading, so this one popped up and it seems super interesting and super out of my wheelhouse. So really looking forward to this one as well. So the next book is, again, not just one, but many novels. It is The Complete Sherlock Holmes by Sir Arthur Conan Doyle. This is something that is going to take me a very long time to get through. It is, everyone knows Sherlock Holmes. It defined the genre of mystery, thriller, detective. I think getting into those mysteries and seeing the inner workings of Sherlock Holmes is going to be so much fun. So the next book is Second Sex by Simone de Beauvoir. And I apologize if I absolutely butchered that name. This is a work of feminist philosophy and what society kind of constructed as what it means to be a woman and womanhood. So I think this is going to be really good to get into the deep-rooted assumptions of women in society. So really looking forward to that one as well. Next book is The Collected Poems of Roca. This year I want to get into a little more poetry. And Roca has always been on my top list to read, and for some reason I've never gotten around to actually reading any. So I think 2026 is my year to actually delve into this poetry that I've heard so many beautiful things about. The next book is A Month in the Country by J.L. Carr. So this book takes place on the English countryside, and it is essentially a very slow, short novel. I'm a big fan of nature and slow living, so I think with all of these really heavy books, this is going to be a really good change of pace. So the next book is an author that I've wanted to read for a really long time, and I've never gotten around to it, so I figured this was the perfect time to do so, and that book is Giovanni's Room by James Baldwin. And I'll be honest, I really don't know anything about this book at all, and I kind of want to keep it that way. I haven't looked into it. I haven't even read the about for this book, and I want to just go into it completely blind. The next one that I want to read is, once again, not just one book, but a collection, and that is The Divine Comedy. This is probably going to be one of the older books that I read, but I think everyone knows the gist of the Divine Comedy, hell and purgatory and heaven, and it explores theology and symbolism and the soul. So again, I'm really excited to finally delve into this book that have seen so often, and I've been a little bit intimidated to actually get into. So the next book is Mongrel by Hanako Footman. Again, I apologize if I just destroyed that name. So the only thing I really know about it is 3 intertwining narratives of 3 separate Japanese women. And it's really about all I know. So I've heard a lot of really good things, and I think it's going to be a really fun read. So the next book is also a more recent book. It is Soldier Sailor by Claire Kilroy. And this is kind of the opposite of the book I'm currently reading, Gilead, in the fact that this is more so about motherhood, and it is a monologue from a mother to her young son. Again, I don't know much about it. It seems very sad, which is right up my alley. The next book is an author that for some reason I have never read, but is one of the fathers of writing, and that is Great Expectations by Charles Dickens. So this is, one of the original coming of age stories, which are some of my favorite to read. So I'm really looking forward to reading kind of where this whole genre came from. And again, I don't really know much about this. For some reason, I've never even really looked into this book before, but Dickens is somebody that obviously one of the most well-known names in literature. I'm really excited to finally get into one of his great books. The next book is Crime and Punishment by Dostoevsky. But this is one of the most popular books ever written, I believe. One of the original psychological thrillers. Talks about redemption and morality and guilt. And this is a book that whenever I started getting into reading as an adult, and it was very intimidating, to say the least. So I think now I'm going to be able to really really appreciate this book for what it is and what it represents and understand it a bit better. So the next book is Invisible Man by Ralph Ellison, not to get confused with The Invisible Man. So this is a book that I've seen around a lot as well, being into, modern classics myself, that I've never actually picked up and sat down and read and got into. This book talks about race and identity and being invisible as a Black man in America. So really looking forward to getting into that one as well. The next book is another nonfiction. It is Time and the Art of Living by Robert Grudin. And this is one that I've seen around a while, and it is about slowing down. Right now, I have a lot going on, and I think taking the time to read a book about slowing down is just what I'm going to need. Again, I don't know a whole lot about this book. I've heard wonderful things about it. This is another philosophy book that I think is about the art of slowing down and taking time to appreciate the present moment and where we are in life right now. So I think this is perfect for where I am in life right now. The next book is kind of an interesting one to me because I played these video games on the 64 as a kid, and that is From Russia with Love by Ian Fleming. And I think everyone knows the story of James Bond. So I think it's going to be really fun to see the book that actually inspired the video game. So if you have played 007 GoldenEye, you know exactly what I mean when I say this book is going to be so much fun to read. The next book is by an author that, once again, I am very excited to read for the very first time. It is To the Lighthouse by Virginia Woolf. For some reason, never gotten around to reading any Virginia Woolf novels. This is a very slow, very quiet novel from what I understand. I haven't really looked much into this one either. It has been kind of up there for me whenever I think of Virginia Woolf novels. It's one that kind of comes to my mind. I'm not exactly sure why, but yeah. So excited to add Virginia Woolf to my authors for 2026. So the next book is Braiding Sweetgrass by Robin Kimmerer, and I am so looking forward to this one. I love books on nature and our connection to nature and humanity and not taking advantage of the world and the earth that we have outside, and that we don't own the world, right? We don't own the trees. We don't own the mountains. We don't own those things. So this is a book I've seen around a lot, and I'm really excited to actually read it for the first time this year. So the final book is a nonfiction book, and that is The Undertaking, Life Studies from a Dismal Trade by Thomas Lynch. So this book is a memoir / a collection of essays from Thomas Lynch, who was a funeral director. It's another philosophy book that touches on mortality and grief and loss. This book I'm actually really excited for, as dismal as it seems, because death is something that every single person is going to experience in their life at some point. So these are the 26 books that I'm really looking forward to reading this year. They're going to be at the top of my list, and I'm really hopeful that I can find them at my local library. Let me know your thoughts. Let me know what books that you are looking most forward to this year. Anyway, thank you for being here. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.